Okay, so a few weeks ago, my prolapse symptoms felt probably the worst they have ever felt, ever. And I started questioning everything. Was my prolapse getting worse? Have I damaged something? Have I done something wrong? Or was all the lifting and the training eventually catching up with me? So if you ever had a flare up and immediately assume the worst, then this video is for you. So I was going through a pretty stressful time, probably like 3 weeks ago. I didn't really realize at the time what I was doing, and looking back, it's obvious I was just putting so much pressure on myself. I was going through stuff, appointments with my 7-year-old. I had appointments for myself. There were business pressures. I felt really fatigued. I've also got a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they don't sleep well. So I'm up a lot in the night on top of everything else. And I also then went to see my pelvic floor physio to get a check, and we started getting pessaries fitted. So things were getting sort of pushed around, tugged around. And I was very much aware of my pelvic floor and pressure and gripping returning in hindsight, because I was tense. I felt out of control. And because I'm hypermobile as well, everything was just gripping on for dear life. People talk about a nervous system being an issue when it comes to pelvic floor dysfunction like prolapse. And I didn't really take that on board as much as these last few weeks, and realizing, which is why I want to share today, because there is a lot around fear and the fear of prolapse itself, and the fear actually impacting and making our symptoms worse. So there's not going to be an exact straight answer here, but I want to share experiences and hopefully give you some tools, some ideas to understand what may be going on with your body, and put some things in place. So symptoms increasing didn't actually automatically mean my prolapse had got worse, because after going for a sleep and then wake up in the morning, there were no symptoms. And then they start flaring or noticing things. My body was under more stress. I wasn't managing my pressure very well because I was holding my breath. Like I said, I was tired and paying attention so much more to my pelvic floor than I needed to. And that was actually causing more issues as well. And it's common. I speak to so many different clients, and I look on these sort of community pelvic floor prolapse groups, and it's all about the fear, and it's all about being scared and then adding to the issue. I'm very good at catastrophizing everything in my head and imagining that I've undone all of my hard work, because then all of my hard work I've been learning and doing with my clients. And I'm like, then who am I? I've made things worse on myself. The things I notice to help when I'm in a stressful period of life, because you can't get away from that, but when you're aware of it, it helps and you feel less fear around prolapse making things worse. I notice walking really helps me shift the pelvis. It causes less gripping for me, I've realized, as I walk. This is me walking. Breathing steadily, not trying to be this perfect breath pressure management sort of thing, as I've learnt. Reducing the fear, actually writing things down and being like, what is it that I'm actually fearing right now? What is it that is going on in my head? I find a brain dump really helpful for me, because everything's in my head all the time. I feel like I'm spiraling. And then if I just write it all down, it feels less pressure. And I end up doing it every day, but it does help eventually. Looking at the bigger picture, when I was in the thick of it and I was like, great, I get my pelvic floor's actually got so much better after my pelvic floor physio check. Why am I feeling so symptomatic? It's brilliant. I can actually now get fitted for a pessary, but it's coming out like I'm not managing this very well. There was just so much. Ended up taking the pessary out, and it felt so heavy, just dragging. And I was messaging my pelvic floor physio like, this, I think I've damaged my prolapse more. And then that fear, the spiraling again, and everything eased. I literally had 2 weeks of hell, walking around being like, why don't people understand that I can't walk? I have something coming out of my vagina. This is uncomfortable and no one gets it. And then bam, the appointments are gone. I'd move forward with my son, like another appointment I'd taken, and we felt better in the family unit. No prolapse symptoms. Get emotional. So, yeah, looking at the bigger picture, not immediately abandoning exercise. I have spoken in past videos where I'm feeling symptomatic. I'm just going to move gently on my exercise because I exercised for my mental health mainly because I feel so much better, so much less like a caged animal. So I moved gently, and then within half an hour, halfway through my workout session, I noticed that my symptoms have gone. It's like, cool, great. This works for me, doing weights and just not being all caught up in my head and just making temporary adjustments for that season in life. Your prolapse hasn't got worse. It's just there's stuff going on with your nervous system that is making things feel worse. Okay, so what I've learned is that symptoms can fluctuate. Stress, seasons, hormones. A flare up doesn't automatically mean damage. A symptom increase doesn't automatically mean your prolapse has progressed. Because I've had it checked, nothing changed. Sometimes it's just information. You know, when you've got lights on a car and it pops up, I don't know what they all mean, the oil light and the other lights, they're just telling you something is up. Something needs to shift a little bit. And sometimes it's simply part of being a human. Also, a prolapse is just laxity, ultimately. I remember speaking to someone or hearing something how no one talks about prolapsed boobs after you've had babies. They're just like hanging there, you know, lower than we'd like, throw them over our shoulders sort of thing. We'd never say prolapsed boobs, and yet we say prolapsed pelvic floor. When you think of it that way, when you realize that your organs are not falling out your vagina, it is the connective tissue that is more lax. And it's super common. And there are things we can do to improve that dragging feeling, and you don't have to stop doing exercise. So if you are someone who's in this fear dealing with prolapse, I have put together a free video, very short. It's called Stronger Without Fear, and there's a link below if you wanted to watch it. Anyway, bye for now.